Hi guys, I Aziz welcome you to CoedMaster, and in this video I am going to talk about generic methods. In this video I will explain what is generic methods, how to create generic methods, and how to invoke generic methods. So if you are willing to learn how generic method works, then this video is for you. So make sure to watch this video till the end. So without wasting any time, let's get started. Alright guys, let's begin this video. So guys, in front of you can see that we have a generic class. The name of this class is pair, and this class has two generic type parameters k and v. On top of it, this class has two private fields, key and value. The type of key is k and the type of value is v. We have one constructor here to instantiate the value of key and value. Then we have two methods to set key and value, and in the last we have two methods to get the value of key and value. So this is a simple and basic generic class. Now our target is to create a method. That method is going to be a generic method, and we will use that method to compare two objects of pair class. So let's see how can we create a generic method. So let's go to new class and let's name it util. Okay. Now inside of this util we are gonna have one method, and the name of this method is compare, and the return type of this method is boolean. Okay. Now this method will take two objects of type pair. Okay. So let's call it p1. So let's call second argument p2 of type pair. As simple as that. Okay. Now inside of this method we have to return the comparison of two objects. Okay. So let's call p1 dot get key dot equals p2 dot get key. Okay. So we are comparing keys of both the objects, and then using logical AND operator we are comparing the values of both the objects. So let's call p1 dot get value dot equals then p2 dot get value. So okay, so this way we are comparing two objects of type pair. Now this method is not a generic method till yet. Now we have to convert this method from ordinary method to generic method. So how can we do it? So it is exactly same as how we convert normal ordinary class into generic class. So how can we do it? We can use the angle brackets, and inside of this angle bracket we have to declare the type parameter of this method. Okay, let's say k and v. K is for key and v is for value. So basically what is generic method? Generic method is a method that introduces their own generic type parameters, right? So I think this is clear to you. Now here we have to make sure one thing, that the type parameter always comes before the return type. So the return type of this method is boolean, so that is why the type parameter appears before return type. So as we have declared the generic types, now we can use the generic type over here. So this object is of type pair, and this pair is of type k and v. Okay. Similarly, let's copy the pair from here and paste it here. So we can say that p1 variable is going to get an instance of pair object, and the pair object is of type k and v, right? Now moving on to next thing. What if our method is static? So currently this method is not a static method. What if the method is static? So can we write static over here? If we write static over here, you will get error. So which means we cannot write static between our generic type parameters and the return type. So we can just shift this static from here to here. Now this is absolutely fine. So we can say that we can use generic type parameters with ordinary method or static method, right? And here one more thing to remember, that in generic classes the scope of generic type parameter is to the entire class, but here in case of method the scope of generic type parameter is limited to this method only, right? So if we have another method like this, like public, void or anything, we cannot have access to this type parameters over here. because the scope of this type parameter is limited to this method only. So these are the few points you should always keep remember, that you can use generic type parameters with static or non-static methods, and if you are using type parameters with a normal method, then the scope is limited to this method only where it is declared. Okay, so our generic method is ready to use. Now let's move on to the main method, and now let's create a new instance of pair class. Okay, so let's call pair, and the type we are going to pass here as integer. First parameter is integer and the next type parameter is of type string. Okay, let's rename it. So let's give it a name, pair1 is equal to new pair. Okay, now the value of first parameter is 1 and the value of second parameter is, we can say, apple. Okay, now our first object is created. Let's create one more object. Let's rename to pair2, and this time let's pass 2 as the first argument and the second as orange. Now we are going to use this util class to compare these two objects. Okay, so let's call boolean. Let's name it same is equal to util class, and as this is a static method, we can directly call this method without instantiating an instance of util class, right? So util dot, let's use diamond notation, and inside of this diamond notation let's define the type of parameter. So here we have integer and string, then call compare method and pass an instance of pair1 and pair2. So let's pass pair1 and pair2. Now we are good to go. So as you can see that this method is returning boolean, that is why we are storing the return type of this call into a variable of type boolean. Now let's call system.out.println and try to print same variable on the screen. So as you can see that the compare method is comparing two objects and the value and the key of both the objects are different, right? Let's make it same. So that is why we are getting false on the screen. Now let's make it same. Let's put it 1 here and let's put apple here. Now let's run the program and you will see that it is giving false. So I think I have made some mistake. So let's see it. Get key. So here is a problem. I'm using get key. Instead I have to use get value. So the problem is resolved. Let's run the program and you will see that this time it is giving true, because in both the objects the value of key and value is exactly same. Okay, now one more thing to remember here is we are defining the type parameter here, but as I said in previous video, after Java 7 or later you can completely omit this type definition from here. So we can directly use the compare method on this class. Okay, and our compiler is smart enough to infer the type of type parameter from the context, and the context is pair. And what is the type of type parameter here? One is integer and one is string. So here compiler will automatically infer the type parameter from the context. So guys, by now I hope you understood that how can we declare generic type in methods, and how can we make generic methods, and how can we invoke generic methods. So this is all from my side for this video. If you learned something valuable, then please hit the like button in order to make YouTube algorithm happy. Please subscribe to this channel and don't forget to click the bell icon so my friend you never miss any upcoming videos. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.